Hey, we should be live. Your phone looks good. Window capture. Slide the chair in a little more. Hey, we're back. Building Eriette of the Charmed Apple. She is again. And we are on the refining process. We have 128 cards. So she needs to lose 68 of these cards. So one out of every 2 cards has to go, and then 8 more after that. And she'll be done. She is a very low casting cost deck for the most part. We might be able to get away with like 62 or even 63, but I don't want to go much lower than that. Like, Eriette herself is a 3-drop. Skull of Orm, I think, is one of the more expensive things we have to do with 5 to activate it. Crown of Ages is 4 to activate, but a lot of these things, yeah, we've got a 5-drop Wrath, 1-drop Enchantment, 3-drop Creature, 2-drop Enchantment, 3-drop Artifact. Like, a lot of her things are actually really cheap. So, I'm willing to bet her average mana cost is somewhere around 4. And that is a very low number for a commander deck. In fact, now that I'm saying that out loud as I'm looking at Gilded Lotus, we probably don't need that. We might have to go back and add in some, like, cheaper mana rocks. We have Arcane Signet. We don't have Felwar Stone yet. We do have Cold Steel Heart and Mind Stone and the Talisman, though. So we might not even need to do that. I think, yeah, we can probably cut Gilded Lotus, honestly. It's not doing a ton for the deck. Alright, so I wasn't really looking at the cards, I was looking at casting costs. Let's wander back up here and drop her down to 127, because I do believe that this is true. We do not actually need a Gilded Lotus in this deck. I remember thinking that either when I put it on the list or during one of the passes, it's like, most of these cards are not that expensive. Gilded Lotus is actually, by the time we can cast it, like, yes, we can almost definitely follow it up with one of the other spells in our hand, but the trade-off for that is that we don't super need 8 mana if we already had 5 most of the time. It's still Commander, we're still going to need to do stuff, but I think we are far better off with, like, another 2-drop mana rock. Like, even if I didn't need to make a cut for space, I think I would swap that out for Felwar Stone just because of our mana requirements. So right now we have Animate Dead. I don't know that we need that, but it is a... It's got utility. It can buy back one of our dead creatures with a good ability. It can grab an opponent's giant creature, and then it's an aura that's dealing damage because of Eriette, so it fits the build for the deck. Maybe if I need another cut desperately. Because aside from that utility, like, there's nothing specific I don't think that I need to reanimate in this deck. But that does give us the option. Skull of Orm, Crown of Ages. I want both of these to make it to the end of the deck. They might not, though. If I cut one of them, Crown is more likely to go. Being able to buy back an aura that we've lost is way more potent than being able to move it around manually. And we also have the Kitsune for that. Like Autumn Tail or something. When it flips over. We do have to put 2 auras onto that one first before we can do that, but the upside is that we can put 2 auras on it and then move the auras around to other cards, so it's not the end of the world. Also, we have things like the Calming Licit and the Flickering Ward, where if we put the things on it and they go to kill it, it's like, okay, they just wander off now and we're fine. Things like the Urza Saga style Rancor looking ones. So yeah, Flickering Ward. That should be Winds of Wrath, not Wind of Wrath. which is definitely our best Wrath. Because not killing all of our opponent's creatures with auras on is kind of where I want to be. Like, those are the ones I wanted to keep in play anyway. Sleeper Skyle, Treacherous Link. Treacherous Link might go, but it just feels so good in this deck. And it protects the creature from dying from combat damage. Since it will just redirect the damage to the other player. So similar to Inviolability and the other ones that were running Unquestioned Authority, like, it's not going to take damage, so it just lives. And they take all the damage instead, so there's no getting it killed in combat, and it doesn't get wrathed away by, like, red board sweepers. They just take a ton of damage instead. Noxious Field can probably go, but I'm still marginally interested in it because of Overwhelming Splendor and Night of Souls Betrayal. Like, there are going to be situations where we're just going to be able to kill a whole bunch of little creatures with this thing, and that frees up the auras to go on the more impressive things. Like, if we gotta go wide strategy, and somebody else is doing, like, I'm just gonna play big old beatdown creatures, I want to be able to put all the auras on the beatdown creatures, but then we get swarmed because we don't have a ton of creatures ourselves, and we only have 2 Wrath effects in the deck, really. 3, I think, right now. I think it's Austere Command, the Wandering Emperor, or the Eternal Wanderer, rather, and Winds of Wrath. Excuse me. I continue to choke to death in this weather. So, I do kind of like having a way to deal with smaller creatures, especially if I have to combine it with, like, Night of Souls Betrayal or Splendor in order to get rid of all of them. Just to make sure they actually die, but that is the best I can do with this card. So it might not make it all the way to the end, and I might just have to lean on those other ones and just. I don't want to have to put Splendor and Soul's Betrayal on the same opponent in order to get them to do things. Like, if I'm getting to that point, then maybe I don't need one or both of them, but they are auras and therefore trigger Eriette for the extra damage while stopping the opponents from being able to kill us, so I feel like they should stay in the deck. Also, it's somewhat easier to put both of them on the same player because of Curse of Misfortunes. Being able to go grab more curses and throw them on the same opponent. The downside to that particular setup is then I was going to say it feels like, but no, I'm definitely picking on the one player. Like, whoever gets Curse of Misfortunes is about to have a very bad time this game. And it's going to be based on who was ahead at the time. So that, whether or not that was the actual person that was the threat, they are the one that are going to get eaten alive by all of the different curses in this deck. And then once I have the one on them, there's no reason not to keep loading them up with the same curses, except that they might die, and we'll lose all of those auras, and I have to get them back. Oh, it is Autumn Tail. I did remember and name properly. Alright, Face Fetters, 3 Dreams, Pillory of the Sleepless. We have to cut half of these. I'm gonna lose so many cards that I wanted to keep in here. It's even possible we lose the Curse sub-theme entirely because that's not stopping our opponent's creatures from attacking us. Oh, sorry. Was not expecting it and did not get to mute because of that. Ugh. Like, it might be that we just get rid of all of the curses except for, like, Splendor and Death's Hold, because those are the two strongest. And that would let us get rid of the Bitterheart Witch, because then we don't need her anymore. Thirst and Misfortunes are just based on the curses we already have. I kind of want to see the curses now, because I think this is going to be a thing that happens. So we would lose her, Misfortunes, and Thirst. That leaves us with one. The Curse Witch may or may not stay. We lose Trespasser's Curse. We keep Overwhelming Splendor. Faithbound Judge is another one that might just stay in because of the creature itself. I do like Fool's Wisdom, it being a single target, what's her name? Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Wait, did we already cut all of the other ones? Like the Life Gain and the Zombie Maker and everything? Yeah, okay, I think I'm alright with getting rid of the ones that are just kind of okay. So we get rid of that one. We get rid of... Transform it. Yeah, this is probably just mediocre too, if I'm being honest. And we need room. Like, I had her in here because she turns into a curse, and therefore would benefit from the other things, but I think we can just get rid of all of these. Like I said, I'll leave in Death's Hold, Splendor, and Fool's Wisdom because they're all really strong. I think my parrot is knocking. Who is it? There he is. I don't know if you can hear him when he talks, but... Alright, so... And we can get rid of the Bitterheart Witch, too, since we don't need her to get the curses. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards we don't need. Almost down to only needing to cut half the remaining cards on the list. Alright. Roll back down. Sorry. We're going to need to cut so many of these. Like, we just will not have room for all of them. What are you chewing on? Hey, you. Tell me to come over there. Don't make me come over there. I'm wondering... I'm looking at, like, Treasury Thrall and Silent Sentinel, because if I cut them, then I don't really need Swiftfoot Boots either. We only really need Lightning Greaves to protect Eriette. Or, like, something like Indestructibility or something on her. Because we would have the two R's. We have Indestructibility and the one from the Commander set. So... we would be able to use those to protect her, and we just lose Swiftfoot Boots and creatures that need to attack to get the enchantment back. I mean, honestly, I'm wondering if we need any of them at all. Like, we might not need Lotus Eye Mystic since it only gets one back once, and we don't really have a lot of ways to interact with the Mystics going to the graveyard, so I can see that being a cut. I guess it's helpful to get back the aura, and it has prowess, but they're kind of medium. Like, we get back one aura once. Because we don't really have any ways to bounce or otherwise rebuy their effects, so... Also possible I don't need all of the, effectively Constellation make a creature token cards. I don't need the General's Enforcer either. Or the Bastion Protector. Oh, that's something I wanted to check. I want to make sure that Killian isn't cards that target my creatures. Something. I think he's anything that targets a creature. Target a creature costs 2 less. Okay, I did have his wording correctly. I wasn't actually 100% sure. I was like, did I misread him? Does he only affect spells that target my creatures? You there? What are you doing? That alone, we put that there to catch the water when it drips. Hey. Hey, you. That alone. For interrupting my stream. Hey, he wants attention. Give me a minute. I'll be back. Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. He did not want to go in his cage. He wanted to stay with me. And now I have claw marks all over my hand. Him gripping, trying to stay on my hand. Hey. Just cut the General's Enforcer, right? Because he's from Ikoria. We were checking Killian. Okay. How many samurais or warriors do I have? Because if it's just Norica, then we probably... Like, she's my only samurai. How many warriors do I have? 1. Not even... Technically, we have 0. We have her reference to warriors. Okay, so... That's a pretty easy cut, then. Eternal Wanderer. Harness Snubhorn is another one. This one not only has to attack, but has to deal combat damage. At least the other 2 only have to attack, so... If I'm thinking about cutting them, I'm definitely cutting this one. That's asking way too much. Oops, right. I'm not looking for anything anymore. Trying to, like, go to the next thing. Uh... Hmm. Similar to our other decks, I'm a little inclined to cut the creatures that make tokens when I cast enchantments, because if somebody wraths the board, I am down both the tokens and the token maker itself, so I can't rebuild. Whereas if we keep something like the Hallowed Haunting or the Sigil of the Empty Throne, at least when they kill all of our creatures, if they didn't use like Farewell or Austere Command or something, we get to rebuild afterwards. I think I think I'm okay cutting the Ajani's Chosen too. It only makes 2/2 cats. I would rather have any of the other ones. Like, even the Archon is making flyers, and if it dies, they lose lifelink, but they're still 2/2 flyers. Whereas this one, it's like, it makes 2/2s, and they're on the ground, and that's the best it's ever going to do. Yeah, it's true. We have Arden also. Maybe I can cut the Crown of the Ages between Arden and the Mystic Autumn Tail. Protection, Curse of Fool's Wisdom, Flawless Maneuver. Scale Lord at least gets back. Like, if I have another creature in play that can attack, I can at least get back one of my things, so the Guardian itself doesn't need haste. So maybe that one. Also, most of my auras are in like the 3-drop range, so it doesn't need its own counter for backup. Alright, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more cards off the list brings us down to 116. Alright, we only have to cut roughly half the cards remaining. Even get to keep a couple extra ones this time. Yeah, Animate Dead is probably just, like, it's got some utility, but I don't think I need it. Get rid of the Animate Dead. And get rid of the Crown of the Ages. If it were cheaper to activate, I'd keep the Crown and cut, like, Autumn Tail or something, but... Lighten Tutor, Vampiric Tutor... It might just be that we have to cut a whole bunch of the aura. Like, we're gonna have to cut a bunch of the auras anyway. So it's gonna have to. We're gonna have to leave in the ones that I think are the best. Which means we're gonna have to go back to the lists at the bottom and cut the less impressive ones from each category until we get to the point where we just have a more refined list. Yeah, I can probably cut Wound Reflection. I cut all the other ones. I left in Wound Reflection itself. But I think we're safe to cut that one. Leave in Sigil for right now, but I think I'm going to cut the Archon too. World, Thousand Lashes, Treasury Thrall. Wonder if Grim Guardian's just too underwhelming. He does work with the deck in that they're losing life every time I put an enchantment into play, so it's not that hard for him to add up a whole bunch of extra damage. Similarly, the Lamaya getting rid of all of their cards. But at the same time, neither one of them is actually essential to the deck, so they might both go. Dead Man's Chest has a ton of value, but I don't really kill the creatures. Like, a lot of my stuff, um, exiles. I don't really destroy creatures. They can't attack me in the first place. I don't think they're going to want to get their creature killed if it means they lose all of those cards. So it has to be somebody else killing it to make the damage stop from Eriette. Get rid of another enchanted creature. I have to believe that they will target almost any other creature rather than give me access to a bunch of cards, so... Yeah, Dead Man's Chest, this was the deck for it. This is probably the only deck where I would, like, not the only one, but the first one in a long time where it's just like, no, I would run this in the deck. It's very on theme. Yeah, let's get rid of the Archon of Sun's Grace, too. We'll keep the Throne and the Haunting make tokens for right now. Yeah, I think Faithbound Judge is just, like, it fits the theme because it comes back as an aura and curses the player, but we don't have a game plan for this. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice this thing to get it into the graveyard, so it has to die naturally, and then I have to bring it back, and then it has to stay in through. Yeah. There's a whole lot of and then it finally does something. That's actually worth the card in the deck, so. Yeah, it's a pretty easy cut, if I think about it like that. That's true. We still have Neva to get things back after I cut all the other ones. And at least she does other things, like just getting to scry for free is useful. Bionic Resonator, Starfield of Nyx, Suppression Bonds, Mystic. Prelate I want to keep. I think Prelate's going to name 6, so I'm kind of interested what my other 6 drops are. Because I might want to get rid of most of them. The thing I am most scared of is Farewell. So that is the most likely casting cost that I'm going to name with Prelate. It also, as a backup to that, functions against Austere Command. The one from Gate Crash, the Orzhov card that's like 6 mana. You get to choose a creature type and exile, or creature type, card type, and exile all cards of that type. Merciless Eviction. So, yeah, I think I want to be able to name those, like that casting cost specifically. So, if there are any 6 drops I really super don't need, I kind of want to cut them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. So we pop back up here. We're down to 110. They're all. So what do we have? Let's find all of my 6 drops. That's a 5. No, those are 4s. It's a 4. 5. Enslave is 6. Austere Command is 6. Makes sense. It's one of the ones I'm trying to stop other people from playing against us. Treasury Thrall is a 6, and I'm thinking about cutting it. The Lamaya is a 6. I was considering cutting her also. Brilliant is a 7. Eternal Wanderer is a 6. 5. Oops. Suppression bond should be 3 and a white. Arts casting cost wandered off too. I have a couple of them like that on this list where the casting cost just seems to have vanished. Curse of Fool's Wisdom is a 6. That's a 5. That's a 5. Now, I probably don't need Court of Ardenvale, if I'm being honest. Alright. So if we want to keep the Prelate, I feel like we need to cut all of the non-essential 6s. Because that is going to be the thing that I'm going to name. And the card that has the most chance of actually losing me the game when they cast it. So I'm going to be that all in on the card. Not happening. I need to get rid of all the extra stuff. Put that to 109. And if we cut the Treasury Thrall, I think we cut the Swiftfoot Boots also. So keeping that one. So I suppose Enslave goes then, which useful, not essential. We have plenty of actual removal. I was just running it because it's an aura that gives me the creature and then deals damage to them, so it fit the theme of the deck very well. It also fits Eriette very well with her magic apple that mind controls people. When I say that out loud, I'm just thinking of the Family Guy. This is the Super Devil. As you can see, he's very different from the regular devil. First of all, he's much larger. It's a flying motorcycle, and a jar of marmalade that makes you commit adultery. I think we have enough tutors that we don't necessarily need plea for guidance, and that is another 6-drop that I missed going over the list. I got distracted by Silent Sentinel being a 7, but also I think I missed the, yeah, there's the Treasury Thrall. I think we do cut him. Don't care about those for the 6-drop slot. Not that I don't need them, it's that they're not. I kind of want to leave the Eternal Wanderer. I want to keep the Wraths in, so Austere Command and Eternal Wanderer definitely get to stay. That does mean I went past, what's its name? Born of the Gods. Yeah, so do I want the Thought Render Lamaya? Again, I like pop back up to get rid of something else and then glossed over her. I think it is safe to get rid of her also. She's a 5/3. It's not a useless ability by any stretch, but I don't think it's essential for what we're trying to do, so. Alright, we're back to the Wanderer. She gets to stay. It's Pilgrim, Starfield of Nyx, Expression Bonds. Sounds like the parrot is back out and doing stuff again. Have to see if he wanders back here again. Alright, that seems to be all of them. So the last one was Curse of Fool's Wisdom, which I kind of want to keep. Yeah, there it was. Alright, so we lose Thought Render, Treasury Thrall, Plea for Guidance, and Slave. We can also get rid of the Swiftfoot Boots now. Since that only leaves us with the Silent Sentinel and the one dragon, the Scale Guard, that desperately need to attack when they come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Four now. So we've cut most of the expensive stuff. I wonder if we even need Academy Rector anymore. We have a whole lot of tutors, and there's only like 2 or 3 that she can actually go grab that are super expensive now. Like, she can go grab the Curse of Fool's Wisdom, Overwhelming Splendor, whatchamacallit, the Starfield of Nyx. Yeah, the ones she can go grab are really powerful, plus she can just go grab one of the cheap ones if I need her to. And she's bypassing the casting cost. The only downside is I can't sacrifice her. She needs to die. Yeah, that might be the biggest thing against her, is that she just needs to die, and I have no way to kill her if nobody else is going to oblige me, and she's a 1-2. Like, nobody ever has to block that. The easiest way I have to kill her is to throw Pariah on her. And then have somebody attack me, and I think she's already a big enough target for exile-based removal that doing something like that just makes her absolutely nuts, so... Yeah, the lack of a way to get her off the table myself in order to trigger her when I need to is actually the biggest strike against her staying on the list. I think I'm okay to cut her. Which is a shame. We do have plenty of stuff that I would like to be able to get with her, but... Enchantress definitely stays. Lapse of Certainty I want. Spirit Dancer, yes. Totem Guide Heartbeast maybe can go. We have cheaper effects that do this, and the casting cost of the average casting cost of the deck is already pretty low, so maybe stick with the cheaper ones or the ones that do more. Like, this one is one creature that's a 2/5 that gets me an aura. The other ones that are more expensive get me like 2 or 3 auras or something. So that one. Probably lose the Grim Guardian. Again, it's kind of doing the thing. It helps, but I do have to keep having the enchantments come into play, though. It's not good enough for him to just sit there. Like, Eriette, once I play the enchantment, she's going to drain for an extra 1 every single turn. This one gets an extra point in each time I cast one of them or have one enter the battlefield, but... Also, a lot of these are when I cast auras, so maybe we don't need the vendor anymore. There are still cards that care when my auras die or when something with an aura of mine dies, so I do still kind of want to throw around as many as I can, but might not actually need the vendor. Plus, the vendor is only once per turn on my turn. It feels like it's close, but not quite good enough, so... 4 now. And we probably want to keep Eriette. Impression Bond, Starfield Mystic. Possible we lose the Starfield Mystic too. A lot of my stuff is already cheap. Like, I don't necessarily need to cut into too many of the things casting costs. The thing I like about this one is that it is the last one that actually cares about all of my enchantments, so it works on things like the Starfield. Whereas, like the Envoy doesn't. In fact, maybe it's just that I need to get rid of the Envoy then. There goes the parrot again. Yeah, if I'm going to cut one of them, it should probably be the Transcendent Envoy over Starfield Mystic. Because it being a 1-2 flyer isn't doing a ton for me. Because the only thing I really have is Sage's Reverie. So. Do we even need Minions Return? Similar to Enslave and Animate Dead, it's a way for me to get my opponent's good value creatures or to keep mine from staying dead. And yeah, we probably don't need either type of effect right now. 5, 6 cards we've cut now. Alright, so we have 6 more off the list. Brings us down to 98. Oh, we are making good progress. Clear all. So we need 38 cards off this list. Eventually, I'm going to just have to acknowledge that I need to cut more auras. But first, I want to check my tutors. I might not even make the full list at the bottom. I just need to see all of them together and which ones I have so I can decide which ones I want to get rid of. Breath, Allay, Despondency, Pariah, Tutor. Wait, do I not have Vampiric? Yeah. I'm gonna say, wait a minute. I seem to have glossed over Vampiric somehow while doing this. I'm just not at the top of my game for noticing things on giant lists right now. I haven't been for a week, apparently. At the very least. Noxious Field, Karmic Justice, Greaves, Cage of Hands, Dreams, other things, Tutor, these Tutor, Dealic Tutor tutors. Surprisingly. Exile, Sigil of the Empty Throne, Spirit Dancer. Excuse me. Actions. I believe that's plural also, though. Flashes, Silent Sentinel, Reverie, Baking, Ghost Form. Anything else that tutors? Right, no. The odds Pilgrim tutors. Prelate, Spectral Grasp. Yeah, Sky Hunter's not quite a tutor, it's more of a I have one in the top 6 cards, I get to grab one. It doesn't actually tutor for a specific one. I would count that more as card draw than anything else. Yeah, so right now we've got Demonic, Enlightened, Vampiric, Three Dreams, Idyllic, and Pilgrim. I kind of feel like I can cut the Enlightened tutor. I don't have a ton of card draw. I have some, but I won't necessarily be able to put it on top and then immediately draw it, so I think Enlightened Tutor can go, and we'll keep the others for right now. It's possible I get rid of Vampiric too, but since I have so many tutor to hand cards in our color combination that get the things I need. I can actually see that too, which is really weird. I don't remember the last time I cut Vampiric Tutor from a black deck in Commander. I mean, it's a lot less weird than cutting Demonic Tutor, but at the same time... Excuse me. Yeah, I can kind of see that. I just don't have card draw I need for it. So it's basically I have to do it to change my draw step to be what I need. And I'm sure we can find other stuff to cut before Vampiric Tutor needs to go. Alright, so what do we have on these lists right now? Might need to get rid of a few more of them. Ace Fetters, Pillory, Prison Term, Thousand Lashes. Alright, this one can bounce. This one affects all permanent types. I think I get rid of... I think I get rid of Prison Sentence first, since that's the least effective of them. Wonder if I get rid of any of the vows. I think if I got rid of any of the vows, it would be Vow of Duty. Since it actually gives the creature vigilance, that means that I can't comfortably attack them if they're attacking other players. And it's still back to block if somebody else attacks them so they can get it killed, whereas Menace and Intimidate makes the vowed creature harder to block if they want to do the thing where they get it into combat and get it killed. Yeah, I think Vow of Duty is the worst out of the group. I kind of need extra aces right now. I think if I'm going to keep Pillory and or Thousand Lashes, it should probably be Thousand Lashes. I would rather have the arrests than the pacifisms. Suppression Bond, Spectral Grasp. Yeah, I think Spectral Grasp is just a better Vow of Duty for what we're trying to do with it. Yeah, alright, let's get rid of the pillory, I think, too. Get rid of it down here along with enslave. Flickering ward is really cheap, but I'm still wondering if I wind up cutting it. That only leaves Page of Hands, I think, is the only one I can actively bounce to my hand. Yeah, I can see cutting the Flickering Ward, despite it's cheap enough that I can cast it, bounce it, and cast it again to re-trigger things like SRAM and the Mesa Enchantress and whatnot, so kind of tempted to keep it for that reason, but let's cut these three. 2 L's. Yeah. Torment, there's duty. Fine, we'll do it that way then. And prison sentence. Nope, not prison term. There we go. Alright, so 1, 2, 3. Down to 94. Alright, we are coming up on the hour mark, but I did take like 5 minutes to put bonks away, so I suppose we will keep going to get it to the actual hour. And do a couple more passes, try and find something else we can cut. Scrolling through, looking for anything I don't actually need. It might be the Silent Sentinel. It does have to attack to reanimate my enchantment. It's a 7-drop when this deck is otherwise very low to the ground. I could see that one being one of the cuts that I eventually make. I could also see cutting Brilliant Restoration. We have the Chimes, when most of my stuff is cheap. We have Replenish and Retether. I've cut most of the auras that don't attach to creatures specifically, so Retether does get back almost all of our auras at that point. One of the biggest upsides to Restoration is it can get back things like our mana rocks, but also Skullivorm might be the biggest thing it can get back. Because if I lose the skull, then I lose one of my main ways to get back our dead enchantments repeatedly. Still don't think we need it, though. Reaper, Neva. Also, we can run Mistveil Plains to put it back into the deck. if we lose an important non-enchantment permanent, or if we just want to recycle one of our spells that gets back things or does other stuff. Like, we can use that as a way to put cards back into our deck, and then I'm running all the fetch lands, so it's pretty easy to shuffle after that. Yeah, definitely want to keep all of those if we can. Alright. That brings us down to 93. Out of all of the listeds, the calming listed is the one that is most on theme. So I kind of want to keep it. Yeah, maybe we do get rid of Noxious Field then. We did actually cut Brilliant Restoration, so. Get rid of Noxious Field. Might be Lightning Greaves. I could also see just cutting the Mystic. We have Arden to move auras around if we really need to. And we do run the risk of getting literally 3-for-1 with this card, depending on what auras we threw on it. And whether or not we were drawing cards off of doing that. So, yeah, Mystic seems a little bit dicey. Oh, right, we also have Everflowing Chalice as one of our mana rocks. I did forget about that. I was listing them off before. Yeah, I keep feeling like I'm gonna wind up cutting the Arbiter, or Sentinel rather, anyway. Sorry, wrong, Silent Creature. So. Probably cut Ghost Form. Yeah, I can see cutting Ghost Form. Aside from Eriette, there's not a whole lot I really want to put this on, and I just cut one of the better ones. I'm not going to be able to attack with it right away. Yeah, a lot of my stuff is still very cheap, and Lurus does work with it, so I kind of want to keep him. I want to keep the Reaper. I want to keep Neva just as my one way to get back stuff off of a creature. Plus, she gets the scry and the counters when my enchantments die, so she's not, you know, not doing anything afterwards, and she's menace too, so that can help a little bit. Pilgrim, Starfield. Already cut a bunch of cards to keep the Prelate. I really want to keep that thing so that I can shut off Farewell. I think that is one of the most reasonable cards you can expect to encounter that absolutely ruins this deck, so making it a bit harder to cast that thing just seems like a good time. And then we have the protection too to back it up. So, if somebody does go for a farewell while the prelate's dead or not existing on the table anymore, we have another way to protect ourselves from it. Although, if they choose creatures, all of those auras are going to go away anyway. But at least they won't be exiled, so we might be able to retether or something and get them all back. Alright, so we cut those 4. That brings us down to 89. Alright, I think that makes up for the time that I spent getting Bonks into his cage, so we're going to call it there because I'm starting to slow down on progress. So I feel like if I stop now and come back tomorrow, we'll make a lot more headway. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.